We have.
My name's MachineDaena. This is Andrew Salmon. Welcome
Coronation
to
Street
Electric.
Extra.
All right, okay, we're doing the full intros.
I just don't want to miss that out.
And this is Andrew Salmon.
Coronation Street Extra.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Podcast number 15. Boris is no longer the public's palmate.
Yes.
And what does that even mean?
No, we didn't know, did we? It took a bit of Googling. We Googled, what is a goose foot called? Because to my shame, as a goose expert, I should have known, but I didn't. And the answer, according to Google, is a palmate. And we thought that's quite a funny name.
This is going out live on Twitch at twitch.tv/electric_honk.
Yeah.
And we also put this out to Spotify, Audible, iTunes, all of the Deezer.
Amazon.
All the different
All
things.
of our listeners are on Amazon, aren't they, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been crazy. So it's actually been, I think, 3 weeks since our last podcast. I've had a baby well, not me personally, just to clarify. I don't have a vagina or a uterus or a womb.
I was going to say you were looking quite good for someone who's had a baby. But
Yeah, I have none of the apparatus. So baby Eevie came around about 7 days ago. She's 1 week old now. And she's been really good. She's really behaving.
Congratulations, mate.
And everyone says that parenting is tiring and all of that. And to be fair, I've not worked in the last week. So I have had the time to rest and recuperate.
That's a good point.
But so far, it seems quite easy. But I know I've just jinxed it there.
Okay. And nights have been all right? Sleeping through the night?
Yes, pretty much. I mean, she wakes up once or twice, but
yeah,
to be expected. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm really pleased with you, mate.
Pretty happy.
Great.
Yeah. One more goose to the gander.
Yeah, we're going to have a full gaggle soon.
Yeah.
Well, I've not been up to much. I'm preparing for a long bike ride from London to Paris.
Right.
In about a week and a half. So I've basically spending my evenings just doing some indoor training on my indoor bike and trying to get as fit as I can.
And what motivates a man to cycle from London to Paris?
I'm not really sure. For me, I was asked to do it because my friend was diagnosed with Parkinson's in his early 40s.
Okay.
And so he's doing it to raise money for Parkinson's and asked if I would do it with him. So if someone gives you that sob story, like,
how can you say
you can't say no to that? You're like, no, mate, you're on your own.
He is listening, by the way. And,
So yeah, between us, we've raised a lot of money for
you've raised quite
Parkinson's.
a fair bit, haven't you?
I've raised
a couple of thousand or something.
I've raised over 1,600.
That's amazing.
And I think he's raised like nearly $3,000 or something.
Anyone that's interested in donating to a great cause, we'll leave the link in the YouTube comments.
Yeah.
In the description and anywhere else that there is a description.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you can donate to Salmon's cause there. But
yeah.
What is it, like 8 million miles or something?
Just short of that, yeah, 7.9 million. No, it's so it's over 4 days. Can't remember what the mileage, like 400 miles or something. It's 550 kilometers.
I remember me and my wife and I, we used to go to the gym and we used to cycle. We used to cycle 20k, and that was like a really big deal that we could cycle, and that was on the machines as well.
Yeah.
So
the machines are easier, to be fair.
Are they?
Yeah, I'd say 20k on the indoor bike is probably the equivalent to like 40k outdoor.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, okay. So we're basically cycling not even 10, well, about 10% of what you are. Shit.
So, it's going to be good. I think I'm fairly happy with my fitness
I was just about to say, how's the prep going?
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
What happens when you need to do a dump as you're cycling? Do you just not?
Well, fortunately for me, as somebody who hates shitting at work, I'm an expert at holding in my poos until the end of the day.
Right,
so if I need one in the morning and we've already set off,
I'd be screwed.
Yeah, I have seen pro cyclists in the Tour de France pulling over to have a poo in the fields on the side.
Shit.
Like they've kind of covered it on the camera.
Literal
sometimes.
shit.
Yeah. Well, I can hear all the listeners screaming, get on with the Boris stuff, but we've got a few bits that we're going to cover first, haven't we?
This is basically going to be a Boris special, but there are a lot of other things to cover too. You must be gutted about this. Robinsons have cancelled their sponsorship after 85 years of Wimbledon.
It is heartbreaking.
How are you going to manage?
I never really drunk squash for the last 20 odd years, and just recently I've been getting a bit bored of water with dinner, and instead of having alcohol I've been having a bit of squash.
Oh, really?
Usually like Spa own brand or something like that, but I'm now having a bit of a comeback into the squash market.
I
so
do like a good squash. It makes water fun.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean water's not bad, but it's just a bit boring, isn't it?
It is boring. Yeah, we don't like it on this podcast. Rolls-Royce have given a bonus of 2k to all their employees, and it's a cost of living bonus.
Yeah.
The reason why I put this on the board, I wanted to talk about this, is obviously we're going through a cost of living crisis at the moment in the UK. Those of you that are not in the UK, you'll probably have heard about it, or you may be even going through some form of cost of living crisis where you live as well. We get a lot of American listeners, for example. But all I will say is it's pretty bad in the UK. And the numbers, it says 9-10% inflation. It feels like more than that.
Yeah, there's been some stuff in social media about tubs of butter costing like £6 or £7 or something, whereas usually it'd be like 99p or £1 or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I saw that Aldi had started putting security tags on lumps of cheese.
Yeah, that's what it's getting to now, isn't it? And I was in a shop recently where they'd removed all the protein bars, and it said, ask at the till or something if you want to buy one, and they're £2 a bar. Yeah, we're in a bad situation cost of living wise, and a lot of people are asking their employers for pay rises because people haven't had pay rises for a long time, generally speaking.
Yeah, like if you're suffering a 10% inflation increase, which in reality in the UK is probably more like 15 or 20% in real terms.
Yeah, and you're not getting a pay rise.
You've got to remember your salary is pre-tax. What you pay for your food is post-tax, isn't it?
Yeah.
And fuel and so on and so forth. So a 10% pay rise won't cover a 10% inflation rise. It probably needs to be more like a 13-14% rise to get anywhere close to it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a bit shitty because I think they did it because obviously they want to help the staff. Fine. And let's be fair, if you're working at Rolls-Royce, you're probably on a pretty good wage anyway.
Possibly.
But it's annoying that it's not just a wage rise because it's committed on the balance sheet then. They have to pay those wages when it's in the wages. Whereas if it's a bonus, they can opt not to pay it if the company's not doing too well.
Yeah.
So that kind of irritated me quite a lot. And I guess I wanted to get your take on it.
I think I'd heard that side of the argument, and I think as soon as I'd read that, because my initial gut response was like, bloody hell, 2k, that's so nice. Like, who wouldn't love 2k bonus on top of their bank payment slip? The cynical take on it is they've done it so they don't have to give their staff a pay rise and actually save themselves a lot of money in the long term over the next couple of years. And actually, you just think, oh my God, when does like capitalism ever stop like being awful for people?
So self-centered.
and just fucking profits for the billionaires all the time.
I just think it's exactly what you said. I think it's very cynical of a company to not just give people a wage rise when they'll probably, in reality, they'll be incurring other cost increases with their suppliers. They will therefore put their prices up. Yeah. So why wouldn't you also put the wages up as well?
And then any increase in profits will just go to the big boys at the top anyway.
Basically, yeah. A couple of other things in the news. We heard about Halifax, who have introduced pronouns into the name badges, into the banks. So those of you that are not from the UK, Halifax is one of the main high street banks in the UK. It's been going for donkey's years, probably about as long as Robinsons have been sponsoring Wimbledon. 85 years at least. But yeah, they started putting pronouns on the badge, and there was the picture on the BBC was Gemma, she, her, it, or something. I don't know what it was, but it was her pronouns. I think I've got that right. And basically the customers were saying it's like kind of like PC gone mad.
How do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? I don't think it really harms anyone to do it. I mean, you want someone to come out with really bizarre pronouns just so that it looks funny on the badge. Yeah. I want to go into a branch and see Frederick Bumberblast, it helicopter
jellyfish
quadruped. Jellyfish quadruped. That's what I want to see, but we're just not going to, are we? It's not really going to do that.
I've started to see a slow increase in people's pronouns being put on like email signatures and things like that. My initial view on most things like this is like, well, it's not harming anyone. Like if people find it important to them and it's not bothering me, then fine, let it happen. But I feel like maybe I'm slowly starting to become more of a middle-aged, grumpy old man who's like, when you were a bit younger, in your 20s or something, and you hear grumpy old men saying like, oh, I can't believe kids nowadays
and you
do this.
lambast them.
Yeah, and I wonder if I'm just slowly heading that way because I don't see the point in it.
I mean, it's fair that if someone looks like a girl, that you would probably refer to them as a girl, because you're not to know that they've potentially got attack helicopter pronouns.
And there are people that are boys that look a little bit feminine, or they've got long hair, and you might mistake them. And sometimes they're not even like going through a gender change or anything, and you just think, I'm not really sure what that is.
Have you ever done that thing where you say to a woman, mate, and you like realise, because it's mate's typically a masculine thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You go, oh, cheers, mate, and then you look and it's like, oh no, that's just a butch-looking woman.
Yeah.
And now I feel like an idiot. It must be really embarrassing for them.
Cheers, Palmate.
Yeah. Oh, God. I'm in a bit of a sticky wicket with this because my name's Daena, which is already a weird fucking name. There are more females than males, but it is a unisex name.
Yeah.
But it's not well known as a unisex name.
Yeah.
So if I put he, him,
Yeah.
people are going to think I'm a woman that's had a sex change.
Well, that's another thing, isn't it? Isn't that like almost like an advertising? If you do, because not just for your name, but I think most people, it's kind of like saying, by the way, whatever you think of me, this is my gender.
Yeah.
And people only tend to say that if they've gone through a change, really.
I might change my pronouns to like he, her.
So that's I think that is something that obviously it doesn't harm anyone, doesn't bother me that much. But
speaking of non-binary, how does a non-binary samurai kill people?
He slashed them.
They slash them.
He slashed them.
My take on it is, it does feel a little bit like we're accommodating a very, very tiny minority with like the whole population has to then start doing something that they probably don't need to do.
Yeah.
But I think when it's not a legal thing and it's purely about etiquette, it doesn't feel like it's etiquette yet. As in, it's like standard etiquette to tell people your pronouns.
Yeah.
So until it becomes proper standard etiquette, I think it's always going to be in that ether where people don't really care that much about it.
Yeah.
But then there are a select few people that really do care about it. Yeah, we're going to be in that difficult position. I'm sure fast forward 50 years, it'd be very different.
Yeah, just before we move on from the subject as well, on a similar note, my workplace today, we had a big organisational meeting and the head of the organisation was asked, you've put in your vision for the future that you want the organisation to represent the public that it serves. And the question was asked, how are you going to rebalance sort of, I can't remember the term they used, but basically the gender and skin colour to make it more diverse as to represent the full public. And the head of the organisation was like, yeah, don't get me wrong, this is an absolute top priority for me. I can't go into the details of exactly how we're going to do it because I'm speaking to people involved and we're doing a lot of work on it, but absolutely it's my goal to increase the diversity and so we're more representative of the public that we serve. Part of me thinks, great, that's a nice thing to do. That's like you're doing a proactive approach to representing all the people, but on the other hand I'm thinking, well, when it comes to recruitment now, you're going to be
what do they call it? Where it's
like pro-bias, reverse
positive discrimination.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced how sold I am on that either, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh no. I'm not a fan of that. It's like meeting a quota that certain number of. So like, are all the bricklaying and builders firms employing women to lay bricks?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a brilliant piece by Jordan Peterson, which I don't know if you know about. Jordan Peterson. Brilliant talk. I don't know. I guess he's just more of an internet personality now, and he talks about how certain lines of work, certain professions have to be more biased to a gender versus another. Nurses, there are a lot more females. Bricklaying, there's a lot more males. You wouldn't enforce like positive discrimination so that you get more disabled people into laying bricks.
Exactly.
Because it's not feasible.
Yeah.
So why would you do it the other way around?
We'll delve into that more another day. But
I feel like I'm turning into a grumpy old man now as well.
Get on board.
So, because I've had a baby in the last week or two, I've been getting a lot of whiskey. I'm a whiskey fan.
Right.
I've got to be honest, I didn't really do a lot of prep for this podcast.
Not a surprise.
As per normal.
And with a baby on your plate.
Especially at the moment, yeah. However, we didn't want to drop the segment because I've got some decent whiskies here. So we've got here, Top Shelf. We try and bring you a new drink every single week, and it's supposed to be something that you might see in the pub and try. You would see this in some pubs.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a whiskey that you could probably try.
Maybe supermarkets.
Maybe the top shelf of the supermarkets. Yeah, this isn't
Top
a
shelf.
cheapo.
Yeah.
So top shelf.
We're all about the top shelf.
Here we go. And also the packaging is immense.
Oh my word.
So this is a Glenfiddich Grand Reserve, aged 21 years, single malt Scotch whiskey with rum cask finishes. Now, if you're into whiskey at all, you know all about the casks, and they have to be a certain specification and the burn and different things like that. But the way that the casks are finished can influence the flavour.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So Glenfiddich is just a pretty popular brand in the UK and globally. It's probably one of the top whiskey brands. One of the cool things I liked about this is when you open the packaging, it swivels around to reveal the box.
Oh my word.
Like that.
Got a couple of questions. Is it single malt or is it mixed?
It's a single malt.
Okay.
Yep.
And also, when it says 21 on it, you say it's been, was that in the cask 21 years?
I think it means it's been in the cask for 21 years, yeah.
Okay. So if you left it on your shelf for another couple of years,
It's still a 21.
it's still, it won't be like 22, 23.
Yeah, that sticker there doesn't change.
No, but you might say to your mates, yeah, it's 21, but I've had it for 3 years, so it's actually 24. Like, trying to big it up.
Yeah, it's not quite like that.
Okay. So this will be an interesting taste test because we've got a whiskey fan and a whiskey hater.
We'll just do a quick noise test of the lid. Ooh. For the listeners here, it's a triangle bottle. It's orange shaped, and the box that it comes in has got like a swivel that sort of presents the box.
It's probably the best box I've ever seen for alcohol.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, to be fair. Now, the art to this...
That's enough. Stop. Oh, Jesus. Nowhere near. I don't want that much. It's only going to go to waste. Stop. Oh,
Right.
Daena.
Right, okay. I've poured in my glass. When you pour it in your mouth, just hold it in your mouth for 10 seconds, right? And that will allow you to... It takes the edge off it a little bit, so it doesn't taste as bad. And it also lets the flavours come through a little
And
bit.
that's coming from a whiskey liker.
Yeah.
You hold it in your mouth so it doesn't taste as bad.
Yeah. So, if you just throw it down, normally you just get a swish of it and you don't really get the flavours of it. So, smell it first, have a good whiff of it. You should find it's quite sweet, a little bit. No. It's got a bit of a... kind of like a cinnamony sort of smell to it.
Maybe a bit of caramel or something.
Yeah.
There is something sweet about it.
So just don't take a little sip. You'll need like a decent size. You don't have to do the whole mouthful, but just take a... Did you take the larger glass as well?
Well, I took the one you gave me.
Oh, okay. I think they're about the same size, to be fair. So yeah, take a decent sized swill.
Yeah.
Keep it in your mouth for 10 seconds. Just move your tongue around a little bit. Pull your tongue up so it goes under your tongue. And then swallow it. And your opinion might change of whiskey.
Then
or
vomit.
it might say exactly the same.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
To Eevie.
To Eevie. Congratulations, mate.
Takes the edge off. No?
I was fine till I swallowed it. I was like, okay, this isn't too bad.
It's not changed your perspective on whiskey.
I'd say it's less bad than the last whiskey I tried, which was a couple of years ago.
So that expensive whiskey is just less bad than the last one.
Yeah.
And you probably had like Glens or something like that.
Probably, yeah. Certainly didn't come in a swivel case.
Yeah, well that was... So this is the headliner. I'm going to read out 3 different stupid UK headlines for Salmon. I don't know the depth to these stories. He's going to choose one and we're going to delve into more detail about that particular headline.
Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay, sex dwarf, found dead in badger set.
Ooh. That's got my interest.
Sex with Greg's pasty boiled my bellend. Man threw snail at car in street row.
Ooh. I quite like the snail throwing, but
Gordon Ramsay's
sex dwarf.
Right,
Can't beat that,
Let's
can
get
you?
into this. Gordon Ramsay, sex dwarf.
Be a good show for a good name for a TV show, wouldn't it? Gordon Ramsay's sex dwarf.
There was a show that had dwarf in it. Was it Red Dwarf?
Yeah, Red Dwarf.
Wasn't that? That was pretty funny. That
was good. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Craig Charles in it.
Corey.
Legend,
yeah. In a bizarre case that would have even topped CSI's top investigators stumped. Sorry, that's not very good English. A dwarf porn star who was Gordon Ramsay's doppelganger was found dead in a badger set in the UK.
Wow.
Percy Foster, star of X-rated movie Hi Ho, Hi Ho, It's Up Your Arse We Go. Oh, for fuck's sake. That classic X-rated movie, Hi Ho, Hi Ho, was about to be rocketed into the ranks of celebrity porn lookalikes due to his resemblance to the Hell's Kitchen's host when his partially eaten body was discovered in a badger's den. What was he doing in the badger's den?
Partially eaten body. Eaten by the badgers, presumably.
I guess so. According to a report in the UK tabloid The Sunday Sport, that very well-reputed English tabloid, the 3'6" actor was found deep in an underground chamber by Ministry of Agriculture experts. ahead of a planned badger gassing programme near Tregaron, East Wales. Expert CSI teams had to use fingertip technology to remove his body from the 6-foot-deep burrow, and investigators have not yet ruled out the possibility of suicide. Imagine suicide by burrowing yourself into a badger hole.
Jesus.
Percy was a little guy with big problems, said adult film producer Dexter Yamukan. He was doing well, but was under pressure like everyone else in the goddamn industry. In a recent interview, 35-year-old Percy revealed his delight at being compared to Ramsay. Porn lookalikes get more money than normal actors. Dwarf lookalikes are as rare as hen's teeth, and so can command top dollar. I've already ordered a new BMW and a diamond-crusted soda stream, said the pint-sized porn star. And that's the end of the article.
Mate, anyone listening, Google Percy Foster and have a look at the images. Here he is for you, Daena.
All right, okay. Oh, there he is. Can we put that on?
Yeah.
We probably can. Percy, with his Bob the Builder hat on.
R.I.P. Percy Foster.
There it is. Said you've got Just Stop Oil.
Yeah, so they have recently been in the news for gluing themselves to motorways. They zip cabled themselves to a goalpost in a Premier League match.
Yeah.
And if you remember, one of the main donors for Just Stop Oil was a football club owner of Forest Green.
Forest Green, yeah, we covered that.
So their latest stunt was to run on the track whilst the Formula One was underway at Silverstone in the UK. And some of the footage, you can hear the fans all shouting a load of abuse. Get the F off the track, you effing idiots, blah, blah, blah. I've listened to a good interview between Dale Vince and the Talk Sport hosts. He defends them quite well. And Lewis Hamilton even came out after the race and said, I support the protesters, it's for a noble cause. And then Mercedes stepped in and said, well, we support the cause, but not the way that they're doing it, just to clarify what Lewis Hamilton should have said. They're not going to stop, are they? They're going to continue doing more and more outrageous things.
I quite like that. It's like they're having a pissing contest with themselves.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Because they were criticised for the Formula One because they were putting, theirs and their drivers and the drivers' lives at risk. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's a bit dumb to put their lives at risk. Nothing's worth putting your life at risk, well, unless you're defending like something that you really, really care about.
Yeah.
But nobody cares about stopping, oil production or whatever enough to kill themselves. Surely not.
I think that's their message, is why don't people care enough about it? I think they're trying to say we've literally got a couple of years left to make some very serious changes.
Yeah.
And people are literally just playing it down like, yeah, it's fine. It'll be a slow evolution and we'll get some green energy in the next 20, 50 years or something. And these guys like, what don't you get about this? We've literally got
quite
a few
smooth
years.
Transition, really, because we are literally seeing the effects of global warming
exactly,
on your face right now.
This is what Lancashire should be like, and this is what's happening in real life.
I don't know. I mean, I love that they're getting in the news. It's a great cause, absolutely 100% great cause. I love the guerrilla marketing of this, that they're doing dumb stuff like that that gets the headlines, and they're getting a bit of like a reputation now.
Yeah.
I just wonder how effective it is. Maybe it's effective of getting the message out, but what are the effects of getting the message out? Is anything happening off the back of it?
I don't know how much they care about this, but I think they are losing the public support by doing such drastic things like putting Formula One drivers' lives at risk, like bringing the M25 to an absolute standstill when people are trying to get to work, and people are saying, why are you pissing me off? I'm not the main cause of this. I need to get to work, I need to pick my kids up, etc. And they're saying, well, I'm sorry, but the message that we're giving out is more important than your daily routine and getting to work.
Yeah.
I like it because you think back to like the suffragettes. There was a famous incident where one of them ran onto the track at Royal Ascot, which was probably like the equivalent of the Formula One Grand Prix back then. Would have had thousands of supporters there. And one of the suffragettes ran on the track jumped in front of a horse, and she actually died as part of the cause.
Oh, wow.
And that worked. Not that one specific act, but the whole accumulation of their actions eventually led to public support and women getting the vote. So I think it's part of a process, isn't it? Public opinion is going to sink because they're a nuisance. Then people will start to slowly
maybe look into it a little bit more, and like maybe the message goes in subconsciously.
We're talking about it. It was talked about on Talk Sport, a lot with the
So that's at least 5 million views from us, maybe 500,000 from TalkSport.
Exactly, yeah. So the message is getting out there, and one of the TalkSport presenters was quite annoyed to have to be talking about this because he was like, I don't want you guys to have the oxygen that you're demanding by doing these stunts, but here you are and we have to talk about it, and it's really annoying. But so I think it reminds me of Don't Look Up, the Netflix program. Did you see that?
Yeah, the one with Jonah Hill and
so the asteroids coming down and all the politicians are saying, "Don't look up,"
just playing
and
it
it's
down.
like, you can see the crisis happening before your eyes. Like, what is it going to take for you to actually take it seriously?
Take it seriously, yeah. It is interesting. It remains to be seen what will happen with that. They're obviously going to keep going, though, aren't they? Yeah. I predict that one of them will get killed.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're aware of that when they attend these protests and things, and I think they believe that the cause that they're fighting for is more important than one life. It's the future of the planet.
Martyrs. Well, whilst we're just on the topic of Formula One, there was a crash, wasn't there? And the Halo saved. Yeah. So it's interesting that in the last, year or two, the Halos have come into Formula One. Those that are not familiar, the Halo is a bracket around the front and sort of head of the driver. They are solid. Yeah. So literally it will support the weight of another car. Yeah. And if they land upside down, it will stop them from having their heads crushed. And in this case, it saved one of the drivers. It was a
Chinese driver, I think. I can't remember his name, but if you watch the footage of it, there's another car basically comes flying at his helmet.
I'm pretty sure that would have taken his head off.
Yeah.
Like literally taking his head off.
Yeah. So what's interesting is I don't know what his role is, the director or like the main focal point of the Mercedes team, Toto Wolff.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
he campaigned against the Halo.
Really?
Yeah, and he's come out and said, I kind of regret that now. I've seen how effective it is.
Yeah,
but it's that sort of thing annoys me when somebody so prominent is so vocal about their opinions and then they turn out to be wrong.
It's like with everything.
It's a safety thing.
You want somebody to be on the right side of the argument, and if they are and they get it wrong, then fine. Yeah. But if you know that they're on the wrong side of the argument, like the oil companies is a good one, cigarette companies, so on and so forth. You know that there's a health risk.
Exactly.
Don't pretend that there isn't. Right, when you know that there is. Yeah. Toto, obviously, he's probably didn't give it that harsh an angle. He didn't say it's useless, it doesn't work. Maybe he probably did a softer, toned down version of that. Yeah. But the reality is, something like that is likely to work. So give it chance. Does it affect the driving much at all? If it doesn't, fine.
I'm with you,
support
mate.
It. Yeah. It bugs me that. There's been a few things like that have happened recently.
Well, first of all, we've found out today that Keir Starmer and Andrew Daena have been cleared of having their alcoholic beverage in Durham because they both offered to resign if they were found to have broken the rules.
That's breaking news. If you heard it here first, probably.
To put pressure on Boris, who hadn't resigned when he was fined for attending parties during lockdown. So the latest thing that prompted Boris Johnson to have a load of his MPs resign, and then that forced him to come out publicly and say, I will resign.
Let's just say it was, what was it, the final total 52 MPs?
I think I read it was over 60.
Over 60.
End. Yeah.
And for context, the highest number of MPs that had resigned their positions for another Prime Minister was Theresa May at 42.
Right.
So for him to get to in the 60s is significantly higher than the highest previously.
And he absolutely smashed the one-day record for the number of resignations in one day. Yeah.
Which sort of implies some coordination. And also, it's worth mentioning that the reason why they were doing that is because that's just one way of showing no confidence in a Prime Minister when often there's no other mechanism because he'd already had a successful vote of confidence.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. The latest thing was a well-known sex pest within the Tory party, Chris Pincher.
Pincher by name, Pincher by nature.
That's right. Boris Johnson claimed not to know about the allegations against him and pointed him as the chief whip, which is essentially the chief rule enforcer of the Tory party. Then he changed his tune to say, I wasn't aware of any serious allegations against him. And then he said, no, I didn't say that. I just wasn't aware of any specific allegations going on against him. And then somebody well connected in the Tory party provided evidence to show that Boris Johnson did know everything about all these allegations and still hide him anyway. And that was the latest. That was a straw that broke the camel's back.
It's like a carbon copy of what happened with Brexit.
Yeah.
Now, I won't go into the detail, but it started off complete denial, then partial denial, then toning it down, then forgetting and move on, and then eventually having to admit it.
That's what he does,
when
isn't
it's been found out.
Yeah, that's his party trick, really, is to deny, and then slowly give bits away. And it's like, okay, well, maybe, and then I forgot, and I don't know, and then people just forget about the story and move on. And
there's a famous clip of him saying that my tactic is to just make as many blunders as possible that people forget the older blunders.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're talking about now.
That's the point, yeah. So some of the latest ones are coming up first. So we've got that with Chris Pincher. We've got the Partygate, where we had the Sue Gray report. He was fined for attending illegal parties.
First Prime Minister ever to break the law whilst in Parliament.
Where there were stories of MPs vomiting up the walls. And he actually stood up in Parliament and denied that any parties took place.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah. The astounding thing about that is it's a rule that he made, that he broke.
Yeah, exactly. So he couldn't even have claimed to not know the rules. He made the rules.
But he did claim to not know the
exactly,
rules.
Which is absolutely crazy. Then you've got 2 MPs under his watch that were found guilty of sex scandals. There was Imran Khan, who sexually abused a 15-year-old boy, and Neil Parish, who was watching porn in Parliament, who claimed he was looking for tractor information. And
if Neil Parish was some sort of like sex abuser of children, that would have been nominative determinism.
Yeah.
Which not ironically, but also Chris Pincher.
Yeah.
He's also nominative determinism.
Yeah.
We covered this on a previous podcast where the name implies that you'll do something.
That's it.
And then it happens.
That's right. So we've got a general theme of like sex scandals or, Conservative MPs thinking that they can get away with anything sexual or
just general scumbaggery.
Yeah, that's right. You had the Owen Paterson scandal, which was where Owen Paterson was lobbying on behalf of a company that had paid him hundreds of thousands of pounds, and he ended up getting that company like £1 million contracts for PPE. That became public knowledge. And then when that became public knowledge, Boris Johnson tried to change the law to prevent Owen Paterson having to resign as an MP, because that was what was expected of him for breaking the lobbying rules. So Boris Johnson then said, well, this committee that investigates it, we don't want you anymore. We're going to pass a new law which bypasses all of that. Fortunately, that was stopped in its tracks. Then you've got the refurbishment of 10 Downing Street, where Boris Johnson failed to declare where the finances came to refurbish his flat. He was fined by the Electoral Commission for not declaring those illegal donations.
I feel like, even though I know you want to give the background here, there's so much stuff to cover that you're actually going too slow on the things that you're talking about.
Right, there's
so much, though.
Illegally closing down Parliament when he knew that the Parliament was going to vote potentially against his Brexit plans, so he just shut down Parliament, which involved him having to go to the Queen and lie to the Queen.
Lie to the Queen, yeah.
Then there was Jennifer Curie, who he was supposedly having an affair with, and then he got a load of contracts given to her company of public funds. There was the time when Priti Patel, who was the foreign secretary, I can't remember, she's one of the top secretaries for the police and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
She was found to be bullying all of her staff, and everyone complained, put in reports, but he completely ignored it. There was the time when he backed Dominic Cummings over the illegal eye test drive that he went on, and he refused to sack him over that.
Barnard Castle.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, there was a story in the Times about how Boris Johnson tried to give his girlfriend at the time, Carrie, a £100,000 a year job in the Foreign Office
in exchange for a blowjob.
Yeah, then he pressured the Times to have that story removed, which was so it subsequently was. You got the PPE scandal with all of the tens of billions of pounds spent on PPE. There's all of the police officers that were cut, which he says we were going to recruit 20,000 new police officers.
I feel like the Russians are better at this corruption than Boris is.
We're in a shocking state of NHS waiting times. Like you're waiting for like 12 hours in some A&Es, aren't you? We've got the rail strikes. In the COVID pandemic, the care homes were left too late. So a lot of the deaths that happened took place in the care homes. The cost of living's gone through the roof, like we mentioned. Cost of fuel's gone crazy. Brexit's still not done, despite the fact he got his mandate on the fact that he had an oven-ready Brexit deal. All of which he had an 80-seat majority, which is the biggest majority for the Tories since 1987, and which basically gave him carte blanche to do whatever he wanted to do. This is
probably the crux of the problem. If we're moving on from what happened to what's happening, he's got such a majority in Parliament, record-breaking majorities, that the party themselves don't want or didn't want to oust him as leader. Mm-hmm. So he was getting complete loyalty and complete backing of his own party because of people are in jobs that they didn't expect to be in. People are in power that they didn't expect to be in because of Boris Johnson and the way that he is. But actually, when it's come to governing the country, he's not been very good at it.
No, he's been awful.
And his lies have been found out because there's so many eyes on him. And I think that's probably the difference between getting away with it in the past and getting away with it now. When you've got the top job, you can't get away with stuff like that.
That's it. I heard a commentator on the radio today saying, exactly that. You know, it's all very well getting the job in the first place with this sort of bravado and a sort of reputation of not really telling the truth, but it's one of the few jobs where you will get found out and kicked out eventually, which I'm pleased to say has happened.
I find it funny that the thing that's finally made him come a cropper is that it's something seemingly relatively not that important. All right, let me rephrase that. Chris Pincher did abuse men. He was grabbing them, weren't they? He grabbed the cocks of two blokes in a pub or something like that. Yeah. Right? That's a big deal. But actually, of the things that Boris Johnson has done, turning a blind eye to that, there are so many other things that have done that are so much worse.
Yeah.
Billions of pounds in public funds lost. You know,
and there was the refusal from Rishi Sunak to investigate the fraud, which also came to billions, didn't it, in the PPU contracts?
Yeah, so it's funny that that's the thing that's finally made him come a cropper.
I think with that one, it wasn't the fact that it happened, it's the fact that Boris Johnson, it's the way he handled it and the way that he said he wasn't aware of the allegations. Then he said he wasn't aware of any serious allegations, blah, blah, blah. And then he was found out to have known all along.
The carbon copy of the Brexit.
That's it. And people...
Brexit stuff, the Partygate stuff.
Yeah,
right?
And people just thought, you know what, that's it.
Yeah, I think the tide turned. And then this week, what's happened is, was it Tuesday or Wednesday, Rishi Sunak and
Sajid Javid
both handed in their notice, they resigned with
Simultaneously,
immediate
wasn't it?
effect
Yeah.
at the same time. That's important because they're pretty much the two of the most senior figures.
Absolutely.
Rishi Sunak is the most senior figure other than Boris, and Javid was probably in the top 5.
Was he health secretary at the time?
Health secretary, which is obviously massive.
Yeah.
So them quitting was like a huge vote of no confidence, and it was almost like a sign to press go for all the other MPs to do the same thing.
Yeah, it does. You could imagine a WhatsApp group with all of the Tory MPs that are unhappy, and it's like, no, we'll go first on this day. As soon as us two have done it, then these guys, you can do it in the evening, then the rest of you just do it the next day.
Or even just a load of people that were thinking about it.
Yeah.
And maybe Rishi Sunak isn't in that group, and they're saying, oh shit, Rishi Sunak has done it.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm doing it as well.
Yeah. My actual, I had a thought when I saw Sajid Javid and Rishi Sunak resign. I thought, and I knew they were doing it to put pressure on Boris Johnson, but I thought, well, hang on a minute. The economy and the health service are the two areas of our lives that are absolutely fucked. They should have been forced to resign anyway, even if they weren't trying to get Boris out. They were doing such a bad job. So what's happening now then? Boris Johnson has said he's going to resign.
Well, yeah, it's weird though, because he didn't use the word resign or resignation within his speech, but he's indicated that he is going to resign. They're going to put in a new leader, but he's resigning as party leader of the Tories, and he's staying on as Prime Minister, which has now been agreed to be a caretaker Prime Minister. I think the reason why they've done that is maybe he gets lesser powers, or maybe it's some sort of ego dent that he has to take. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But it's a way of the Tories, I guess, dubbing down what his actual role really is. A lot of people, especially Labour and some prominent Tory figures, including John Major, in the 90s, he was Tory leader and Prime Minister for the UK. Yeah. He has said he wants Boris Johnson to go immediately, and a lot of the Labour Party has said exactly the same thing. They basically think that he's going to wreak havoc in the next couple of months until the autumn, until the Tories can put in a new leadership.
He's either going to wreak havoc or do absolutely nothing. Like, no good can come of this, can it? It's not suddenly going to be like, oh, he's panicking now, he's in the last few months, he's going to pass some really great laws that are going to sort us out as a country. Like, that's not going to happen, is it?
It's not, is it? Can you imagine the magic bullets all come out now?
Yeah.
But he has come out today and said that he won't put any, like, significant policy changes in the next couple of months. So he's at least committed to not do anything really, really bad. But then I also wonder if he's already done all these corrupt things, clearly corrupt things, happy to go on record, sue me, right? Clearly corrupt things. What else can he do in the next 2 months? Probably a lot.
Yeah, probably.
He'll do a lot of damage to public purse.
And I've just remembered something I missed off my list, is that secret trip he took to meet Lebedev, this like Russian oligarch or highly connected KGB officer or something, and he went without any security whatsoever, like on a secret trip to go and visit him. And you think that is not a legitimate.
It's just corruption at the finest, isn't it?
Yeah, you can only imagine what went on in that meeting.
We're now at the stage where there's a new leadership contest. So what's going to happen now?
Apparently, there's a lot of Tory MPs that fancy their chances, and I think there's a big vacuum beneath Boris where people don't know. There's no obvious successor. So people don't know who it's going to be, and so everyone's now thinking, I could give it a go. Then let's see what happens.
There's been quite a few people that have been probably waiting for this moment.
Yeah, in fact, some of the big names have ruled themselves out. Like Dominic Raab, I think, has said he's not going to stand. So what's going to happen is a lot of these people are putting their names forward.
Michael Gove as well also said he wouldn't. Run, which makes me happy because he's a real dweeb, isn't he? He's got a very punchable face.
He's highly regarded in the Tory party, though.
He is, though. Yeah.
They see him as a proper heavyweight. A lot of these MPs are going to put themselves forward as potential leaders. It's going to go through loads of rounds of voting. I think you need a certain number of MPs support to pass the first test.
So you need 8.
Right.
You need the support of 8 MPs to get through the first round. And then I think it gets increasingly more and more that you need to prove. And they whittle it down over the course of a couple of weeks. Yeah. And then they eventually get it down to 2.
Final 2. Yeah.
And then I think in some cases they can put it to the party to vote.
I think it is down to the party to vote.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't get a say.
Okay.
Which I find quite amazing that they've got the power to change the Prime Minister, but it's only their party that has that say.
That's the mandate that the public give them.
Yeah, exactly.
So we know the rule. I say we know the rules. Nobody really knows the rules until it happens.
Yeah.
But who are some of the big names then? We've got Liz Truss.
Rishi Sunak's put his name forward now.
He had a nice little video that he put out today. Very well edited, well prepared video.
Right.
Something I need to say about that as well. He registered a URL on the 6th of July, which was ready4rishi.com, right? And you can see that. So, which looks like he's waited until he's resigned to register the domain to push his own profile.
Yeah.
However, there is another domain that was registered in December in 2021, 7 months ago, which was ready4rishi.com. And that, when you click on it, points to the ready with the number 4. So it's basically all the same thing.
Yeah.
He's basically been planning this for 6 months.
Yeah, of course he has, yeah. I mean, some of those Partygate photos were alleged to have come from his property anyway, you know. Yeah. So
who else?
There's 2 that I think I might like as a non-Tory voter. There's Tom Tugendhat, who is the Foreign and Commonwealth Office sort of head of that department, and he's ex-army, and when you hear him speak, he's quite sensible. I think he was a Remainer, but not a particularly vocal one, and seems quite sensible. Another one is Ben Wallace, who I think you may have mentioned to me, and I've since heard him speak a few times, and I actually like him. He seems quite
I like
switched on guy.
Ben Wallace. He's the Defence Secretary. He seems very switched on, pretty level-headed.
Yeah,
comes across a fairly honest guy. I think he's going to be a bit of a Joe Biden. He's going to be a boring Prime Minister.
Yeah,
but he does shoot from the hip.
That's what we need, isn't it?
Kind of is. Yeah. He's not going to get any headlines, but if he runs the country better, that's really what you want, isn't it?
Yeah. We just don't know what their wider views on society are. Whether they, want to cut the state back as much as possible and give everything to businesses and all this sort of stuff. But as regards to their first impression personality, those 2 seem like safe, boring options, which is what I kind of want. Liz Truss would be an absolute joke.
Yeah, that'd be a nightmare. She's terrible. There was also Jeremy Hunt, who's one of the more prominent figures putting himself forward for the leadership challenge. Now, I've read different things about this. Now, he's not been in the Partygate stuff as much or anything. So he's kind of managed to keep his powder dry away from all of that shit and the corruption that's been happening. However, I did hear that he's got a really low... In fact, the lowest of... There was a recent poll that they did internally at the... in the Tories, and he came last, last within the Tories. So even if he was to get to the final 2, there's almost certainly not going to make it through. So he's pretty much a write-off before he starts. Now, obviously, that can potentially change. I do believe that a lot of the people that have stayed on till the very end and not really put Boris under pressure are complicit with the lies that he's told.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is why I would find it much easier, even though I don't like Jeremy Hunt, I would find it easier to back somebody like Jeremy Hunt.
Yeah.
However, you look at somebody like Ben Wallace, he's serving such an important role at the moment with the war in Ukraine that you think, well, actually, would you have wanted someone like that to quit over Boris? Probably not.
That's true. Because I agree, you kind of think, if you haven't resigned during Boris's tenure, how much integrity have you actually got, you know, to take on the top job? But like you say, someone like Ben Wallace did have an important role, and probably more important to stay in that role right now than to resign. Boris Johnson apparently has hinted at he could actually just call a general election while he's still Prime Minister, and that would give him a shot at proving that he's got a massive mandate with the public again. If he gets a ton of votes like he did last time, it's going to be quite hard for the Conservative Party to turf him out if he wins a huge majority in a general election.
A bit of a spiteful move, but last roll of the dice, maybe?
It is, yeah, but it's very, very selfish of him because the Conservative Party have got such a big majority now that whoever takes over from him has the benefit of keeping that majority and passing any laws that they want to pass with the support of the party. If he goes to a general election just to try and save his jobs, and they risk all of that, and maybe they have a very slight majority or even become a minority, he's just thrown away the leadership of the Conservative Party for his own self-interest. So.
It frustrates me a little bit that by the way, I've mentioned this a few times. I'm not like allegiance to Lib Dems, Tories, Labour. I will vote the way I think is the right way to vote on any given vote. So I could happily vote Tories if I felt that was the right thing to do, but equally I'd happily not vote Tories. I've never voted them before, but that's not to say I wouldn't vote them in the future if I thought that they were the right sort of leaders to run the country. But the thing that strikes me most about this is that it's all very selfish. It's not really about running the country anymore. It's all about the party, and it's all about party politics rather than country politics. Yeah. And when you've got the stuff going on in the world that's going on at the moment, I just don't think that that's the right way to be. If somebody can come in, let's say, for example, Ben Wallace can come in, get a few quick policy changes through and make a real impact to people on the ground, and I mean households in the UK, he could really show himself to be a really popular Prime Minister if he was to do something like that.
Yeah. I wonder how difficult it is, really, because anyone coming in now has got the after effect of COVID to deal with. They've got cost of living crisis. They've got the Ukraine war and stuff. I wonder if there's actually anything any of them could do.
They've got long Boris, haven't they?
Long Boris, yeah. So prediction then. What do you think is going to happen over the next weeks to months?
I think that Rishi Sunak will get to the last 3 or 4. Probably the last 2. I'm a bit torn on Rishi Sunak. And the reason I am is because even though he didn't look after some of the smaller businesses during COVID, they got stiffed with the furloughing scheme. And even though his wife, he is rich, and his wife is the non-dom
even
scandal,
richer.
Even richer, yeah. They at least reversed her non-dom status when they were found out about that, just to take the pressure off, which kind of shows that he's at least willing to put his hands up and do something about it, which I do quite respect. So, and I think he comes across fairly well and fairly sensible, but he also is great at dodging questions, which I don't like either. Yeah. And I don't think he's a particularly empowering figure. He's it's a silly thing, but he's a very slight guy, very small. And I also think, and I shouldn't think like this, but I think because he's not a white male, I think that what might go against him as a leader. It shouldn't. It's ridiculous that might happen, but I think that might happen. Ultimately, he might be the right leader for this country right now, but ultimately he may not get it just because he's an Asian guy. Yeah. So,
on the other hand, that could be a reason. Going back to that, what was the term? Positive discrimination. It could be something that helps the Conservative Party, because they've always had this thing over the Labour Party where they've said, well, you go on about equality, etc., but you've never even had a female leader of the party, whereas Conservatives have. And then if they go ahead and elect Rishi Sunak, they'll always be able to hold that above Labour Party and say, you've never had an ethnic minority as leader of the party either. Yeah. So it could actually put them in good stead just for the moral high ground of a battle, which they seem to be quite big on culture wars at the minute, don't they, Conservatives? Yeah. It kind of helps their cause. So I think he's a very, very strong candidate for it. I'm not convinced I would be happy if he becomes our Prime Minister. I think I prefer to see one of the more boring, sensible types like Tom Tugendhat or Ben Wallace. Prediction is, if I had to nail anyone on the post, I'd say Rishi Sunak, I think.
Yeah.
Before the proper Goose news, we'll just firstly pay tribute to Tony Siragusa, the NFL defensive tackle who became one of the game's biggest and most loved personalities, affectionately known as the Goose. He was a key part of the Baltimore Ravens team that won the 2000 Super Bowl. Has now passed away, unfortunately. So, Goose news. Horror in Lake District as 3 geese dragged to their deaths by the mystery underwater creature. Sounds like I made this up. A man has urged people to stay out of Ullswater. You know Ullswater, don't you?
Yeah.
Near Houghton in the Lake District after he saw several geese dragged down to their deaths by something under the water. Wayne Owens is a regular swimmer in the lake, but he was traumatized by the experience and is too afraid to enter the water again. He works on the lake and has begun urging people on social media to keep their children and small dogs out of the water. He said, I was on the steamer and this grey lag goose was taken from the top of the lake and dragged backwards until it was not seen again. We kept watching and looking, but it didn't come back up. It was a full size, maybe 10 to 12 pounds, and it was flapping furiously, and it couldn't get away from whatever had it. The next day I saw 2 smaller ones get dragged underwater, and my skipper witnessed this as well. I think something's being released into the water, and when I've spoken to people about it, they said it could be a crocodile or a catfish. Some people think I'm mad, but I've got nothing to gain from this. It's properly traumatized me. I want people to stay out of the water with their children and dogs, and I would like the Lake District National Park Authority to put some signs up warning that there is something in the water.
So you could say that, what's his name? Wayne
Owens?
Wayne Owens' faith in the safety of the waters in Ullswater is waning.
Yeah, nice. You could say that.
Determinism.
All right, pork scratchings, another short and sweet section.
Okay.
This section is about, as it says on the board, Roland.
Just for the viewers, can you explain pork scratchings?
It's basically a section of something interesting that one of us has discovered that is not the sort of thing is been in the news or anything like that. It's just a random subject that is worth knowing, and it's the sort of thing you can go down to the pub with your mates
whilst eating a bag of pork scratchings
and say, oh, did you know what? Have you heard about this? And then you'll sound like you're extremely well read and that you come across a lot of interesting facts, but actually
you just listen to this podcast.
Listen to our quality podcast. So this one is about Roland the Farter.
Oh, I like where this is going.
So Roland, whose actual name is George, was a court minstrel to King Henry II of England in the 12th century. He probably had many talents, but history has only recorded one. Every Christmas during the court celebrations,
I wonder what that would be.
Roland would perform one special act that never failed to entertain King Henry II. His famous dance would always end with one jump, one whistle, and one fart. all executed simultaneously. And get this, for his skill, Roland was gifted a manor house in Hemmingstone Manor in Suffolk, which has more than 100 acres of land.
Oh my God, I'm doing it wrong.
Simply for farting on cue. The only credible source that ever mentions Roland is something called the Book of Fees. It's like a really ancient book of like the king's like payments. Yeah, it was used to account for the fees owed by and to the crown. And so amongst a list of very serious and very vital bureaucratic deals, there is a brief description of Roland's performance and the payment that he received from the crown. And it's all written in Latin. So it says, unum saltum et siffletum et unum bumbulum.
Perfect.
Which translates directly as one jump, one whistle, one fart. And he was paid, and he was rewarded with the manor with 100 acres.
Can you imagine if the monarchy just started rewarding people for doing shit like that?
I know, yeah.
In modern day,
he was essentially a professional farter.
Oh my God!
So yeah, this performance is one of the earliest mentions of professional flatulence in medieval history, alongside 12 musical farters in Ireland who farted their way to fame during the same century as Roland. These historical records show that flatulence was more than just a joke. For some, it was a livelihood.
For me, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a fragrance. It's amazing to know. This is a great fact to take away from today's episode. Latin for fart is bumbulum. Or maybe it's bumbulum.
Right, well, upcoming. We're coming towards that stage of the podcast near the end now where I do a little fart on cue right after Roland.
Daena the Farter.
Bumbulum. And right, so we got up and coming over the next couple of weeks. So we should mention first the next podcast we think is going to be
28th.
The 28th, Thursday the 28th.
Yeah.
I am going to move house a couple of days after that, so yeah, that could get in the way, but I think we can. Yeah, I think we can.
The background behind our little eggs on the people that are watching, they may see a load of boxes.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Different boxes. Yeah. So what's coming up then? So you've got Ronaldo leaving. Is he leaving though?
I've got Ronaldo leaving ? Because apparently he's handed in a transfer request, which is understandable given the state of United last season, and he's only got a couple of years left in his career on the Ronaldo, so he probably is desperate to stay in the Champions League.
He does need the money.
Get as many goals in the Champions League as possible, and break some more records before he retires. I think that's the only thing on his mind, and he's not going to do that at United. So it's understandable that he may have put in a transfer request. Where he would go, though, who knows? Chelsea were rumoured to get him, but they've just bought Sterling, so I'm not sure they're going to get him.
I did read that Liverpool potentially was a suitor for him.
No way. I'd cry if that happened.
Well, if you was Ronaldo, would you want to go to Liverpool right now?
No.
But he could make such a name, like legacy and a name for himself by doing that. And he's going to play Champions League. He's going to get lots of goals.
The one I like the sound of is Bayern Munich, because I think they were, if they haven't already, they were planning on letting Lewandowski go to Barcelona.
Natural replacement, probably.
Absolutely, yeah. Similar sort of age, similar physique. He's just going to bang the goals in an easy league and get into the latter stages of the Champions League.
And he's never played in Germany before.
Never played in Germany. And I don't know if Bayern Munich have ever had such a world-renowned, famous superstar like that. So bringing the money for them and global awareness. So it suits all parties. So kind of hope he goes there. Maybe PSG.
I mean, they did just get Mane.
Yeah, I know. But Mane can play further wide, can't he, and do all the running, where Ronaldo just sits in the middle. I think it would fit nicely. Imagine if he goes to PSG and they've got Messi, Neymar, and Ronaldo up front, and Mbappe as well.
Ridiculous. It's so wasted, isn't it, the PSG team, don't you think?
Yeah, it is, yeah. And they've just sacked Pochettino as well, by the way.
Yeah.
And they've brought in some...
the press again.
Yeah.
Bringing you the latest and the greatest.
Tomorrow's news today. What's upcoming for me is London to Paris, my bike ride, raising money for Parkinson's, and that is a week on Wednesday.
All right, we talked about it a little bit, but I'll just ask you one quick question. What are you least looking forward to about cycling from London to Paris?
This is a genuine fear of mine. I'm quite a light sleeper, and if anyone snores, I can't sleep. I even if I put earplugs in, I can still hear it. It drives me mad.
You're not planning on cycling while sleeping, are you?
No. So we have to stay in hotels over the night, and I'll be sharing a room with my ex-colleague from when I used to work, who got me to do this with him, and I've got a feeling he's going to be a snorer. And if he snores every night, I'll have to cycle every day,
with
like
no sleep.
Nearly 100 miles with barely any sleep.
I thought you were going to say something like epic, like, I don't know, cycling up the hill of Jamonte. Or something like that. I don't know if Jamonte is a place, but...
It definitely is, yeah. It's just outside Paris.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest fear is I'm a light sleeper, and if I share a room with a snorer, I'm going to be absolutely ruined.
Shit.
So,
oh, well.
Yeah.
Could get him one of those Robbie Fowler patches.
Yeah.
Nose patches.
Yeah, I might just put them on him when he's asleep. And he'll wake up every morning. Where the hell's this come from?
You could put one on yourself. Go, I don't know, mate. I've got one too.
Apparently it's going to be absolutely roasting, isn't it? I mean, it's been a hot day today, as you can tell.
Roaster, yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, Apple weather says like 28 degrees later this week, but it normally gets it wrong. It's normally hotter than what it says. So I think it's going to be more like 30 degrees. Jeez. And that's in Manchester. In London, it's going to be probably, I would guess, 35.
I wouldn't be going outside if it's that hot.
It's going to be really hot.
You'd be frying eggs on the pavement, wouldn't you?
I've got a little baby that we need to look after.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have a lot of time because I'm on paternity leave at the moment. But am I going to be able to get...
Got some nice blackout blinds to stop the sun coming.
Yeah.
Exactly,
to stop me from getting a face like yours. Yeah. Well, I've been MachineDaena.
I have been Andrew Salmon, Coronation Street Extra. And I still will be next time.
And this has been the Electric Honk podcast. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, where you can see a video edited version of this. You can see us on Spotify, Deezer, iTunes, Amazon, all of them, every single one. And if we're not on them, let us know.
Talk sport.
All right.
So thanks for everyone that listened live and commented as well. It's nice to have you involved.
Thanks a lot.
Goodbye.
Take care.
Au revoir.
See you later.